To our Let's Talk series for September with NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness of the Finger Lakes region, with our special guest, Deb. I am excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here with you this afternoon. My name is Gloria Kwaku. For those that don't know, I'm the newest member of the Community Foundation family. As the Chief Inclusion and Community Engagement Officer, I wear many, many hats, but the most important one allows me to develop and implement opportunities to instill trust, change, and resources into our beloved community, a community that's given so much to me for years and years. So the goal of these Let's Talk conversations is part of our community engagement strategy. We recognize that every competitive advantage begins with people. By valuing, celebrating, and leveraging the differences and similarities of the nonprofit space here in Tompkins County, we inspire an environment of innovation and of passion. So that's one that enables us to create a space to learn and ask questions like we are doing today. Our guests are doing incredible work in our community, and we love to hear about what they're doing, and that's why we have these sessions. So we do come together monthly with a different theme. I see some very familiar faces that come religiously to these programs, which we're so appreciative of you and your support. But we come together every month with different themes, and we invite different organizations to chat with. These are informal, just really quick talks where you can hop on during your lunch or during your drive and just kind of stay informed on what's happening around you. Our CEO, George Ferrari, usually moderates these talks, but he's given me an opportunity to get out in front of you all. And anytime I have an opportunity to do so, I will take it because I love all of you humans. These talks, they're recorded, and all of our previous presentations, as well as materials and links, they're all available on our website. If you look at the chat, you'll see our site link posted there. In October, we will have Yael Daphne-Sar, who is my personal friend, and I think she's on this call. She's the founder of Mama's Comfort Camp. She'll be joining us in October, so we're excited to have her. November, the Child Development Council will be talking to us about the services that they offer. And then in December, our very own YMCA CEO will join us to provide updates on what's happening at the YMCA and what they've been up to. Our official program ends at 12:30, and we've extended our time to 12:45 to allow for additional time for questions, and that's only if we need it. So if you need to hop off at 12:30, we completely understand. Do what you need to do. I want to welcome Deb Grantham from NAMI Finger Lakes. Joe Salzone, he's unable to make it here with us today. I do need to make a correction to our promotional material. Suicide prevention is a separate entity, and Deb will, she'll not be talking about suicide in length today, and she will provide links to resources, but this talk is really about NAMI. It's NAMI specific. She'll be talking about resources and programs available. And she will also touch on the 988 suicide helpline. Without further ado, I'd like to thank Deb for being here this afternoon, and I will pass it on to you, Deb.
Thanks, Gloria. Just checking, can everyone see the slides?
Yes. Yep.
So, as Gloria said, I'm with NAMI Finger Lakes. NAMI stands for National Alliance of Mental Illness. I'm the current president of NAMI, president of the board of directors of NAMI Finger Lakes. I've been involved with NAMI for many years, I think since 2006, because I have a family member who has mental illness, and NAMI has been really a lifesaver for me. I also want to acknowledge there are several board members on this meeting and former board members, and our new executive director, Sandra Sorensen, is on call too. So welcome, Sandra. First day, it's her first day. Very exciting. So NAMI Finger Lakes and NAMI in general is an organization that serves families. We provide free, it's all free support, education, and advocacy for people whose loved ones are living with mental illness. And we support families, we educate, we advocate for services, usually through NAMI New York State, but also locally. And we strive to end stigma. That's a really important feature of our work. I put some contact information here if you'd like to find us at namifingerlakes.org. And we have a helpline. It's not a hotline, it's a helpline that you could call if you need to find out about services or talk to someone. And we have what we call an office phone. Right now, we don't have an office. We closed that during the pandemic, partly to save money. We weren't using it, but that may change. However, we still have an office phone, and you can use that number for sort of business calls. So I just wanted to mention who the people are. As I said, Sandra Sorensen is our new executive director, just starting today. And she is our staff. She's part-time. Everyone else in NAMI Finger Lakes is a volunteer. We have 11 board members right now, all volunteer. And then we have many other volunteers who teach classes, facilitate support groups, answer the help phone, do the hospital support and fundraise. So it's a very grassroots organization, and the volunteer work is extremely important. It's central. The National Alliance on Mental Illness has a national organization, which is the largest grassroots mental health organization in the country. There are state offices, so we have NAMI New York State, of course, and then there are local affiliates, and we have many active affiliates in New York State, but we serve basically Tompkins and Cortland. People get the state's divided up amongst the affiliates. So again, we give classes. We have a support group that meets several times a month with different themes. We have a help phone, a hospital program, educational events, a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and our website. These are some numbers that Jean Paulin reminded me to include, and they're from the National NAMI website. They're extremely important to keep in mind, and they haven't changed a lot since I got involved, except maybe to have more recognition. So 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 20 experience serious mental illness each year. 1 in 6 U.S. youth experience a mental health disorder each year. 50% of all lifetime mental illnesses begin by age 14 and 75% in the early 20s. Suicide is the leading cause of death, second leading cause of death around basically youth, age 10 to 34. So it is a significant problem. One of the things that I really this is one of our major services, is we offer a family-to-family education course. It's now an 8-session course, and we are doing it by Zoom, so people can join from pretty much anywhere. It is a designated evidence-based program. The research shows that the program really improves the coping and problem-solving abilities of the people who are closest to the person who has mental health issues. So I took it. I think I took the second class that NAMI Finger Lakes offered, and Carol Booth, who's on this call, was one of the instructors, and boy, did it make a difference to me. Just understanding and having people to talk to. We have a fall class that starts soon, but it's full. If you want to get on a list for the next class, there's the email address, NAMIFLsupport@namifingerlakes.org. The support groups are another major service that we offer, and there are 3 of them basically. We have the first 2 are family support group, kind of general. First Tuesday and third Monday, at one's in the evening, one's in the afternoon, and that's just to accommodate people's schedules and kids at home and that kind of thing. And then there's a partner and spouse group, more specific, on the second and fourth Tuesday. To register, again, it's NAMI FL support at namifingerlakes.org. Or you can call the number 288-2460 and register. Then you'd get information about, the Zoom link and so on. Again, we're still doing that remotely. We have the several other services, the helpline that I mentioned. Right now, we're not teaching NAMI basics, but we have, and we need instructors trained in these courses. They're trained by NAMI New York State. It's a national curriculum developed by NAMI. So we always need instructors. We teach what we can when we have the volunteers. And basics is for families with young children diagnosed with a mental illness. And it's a shorter course than family to family. Again, we have the helpline, 607-273-2462. And volunteers hold that phone and answer as they can, so it's not a hotline. We have a crisis file that's online at our website, and we call it, Finger Lakes Crisis, we call it the crisis file. And it just has a list of services and resources in the Tompkins and Portland area. There's a course called Family and Friends, which is kind of a family to family in a nutshell. And Jean Poland has taught that. It's like an hour and a half to 2 hour one session. We do hospital support. So some of our volunteers will once a month be at the hospital at the behavioral unit to meet with family members and provide information about NAMI and other resources that could help the family. And we do educational events once or twice a year that are open to the public. Through a few of the slides in this presentation are in response to some questions that were sent in, I think, with the registration, and this is one of them. So people asked how are volunteers recruited, and I can only speak to how are volunteers for NAMI Finger Lakes recruited, and that is that mostly it's through the classes or support groups. So people start engaging with NAMI Finger Lakes for services, and then at some point somebody says, you'd be really good as blah or blah. Do you want to become an instructor? Do you want to help with a support group? So for as I said, a lot of these, they have to take some training from NAMI New York State, and that's maybe a couple times a year. There's also the board of directors. That's a volunteer position. And we try to do training for our own board, but NAMI National is starting to come out with some board training as well. We, especially for the so-called signature programs like family to family, the volunteer needs to have what's called a lived experience with mental health issues. A family member who has mental health issues, or in some cases, people who work with those who have mental illness. And then they can take those courses, and we like that for the board of directors as well. So just a little bit about 988, it's new, and I've launched nationwide in July, so I don't know a lot about it yet. I haven't had a lot of experience. I do have one story that I'll try to tell you from one person, but first, just a few words about it. This website at the top is the New York State Office of Mental Health, and they have a webpage on 988 with frequently asked questions and information about it. It does connect people to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and it is separate from 911, separate resources, separate purpose. And you can do you can phone, you can text, you can chat. So I am going to see how I can do this. So I will just do it from memory. So I was given a story about 988, the use of 988 recently from a NAMI Finger Lakes member whose son died by suicide and was still in close touch with the son's girlfriend, who also was having mental health issues, partly because of the son's death. And so our NAMI Finger Lakes member helped her get in touch with 988 and also made calls to 988. And her story to me was that it was extremely helpful, that it was very fast response, that the people at the other end of 988 connected them with really good resources right away. They were good to talk to. They were good listeners. There was no judgment. And there was a lot of support through that phone call and follow-up phone calls. So I think that it'll be very valuable to people. I don't know if there are any issues arising yet, other than I've heard people wonder if the staffing was going to be sufficient, because there's already staffing problems within the mental health community. But in terms of any other issues, it might be too early to know, and I haven't heard anything. So one of the other organizations in the county that I want to just talk about it, well, a collection of organizations and services, Suicide Prevention and Survivor Services of Tompkins County, includes several websites here. There's Ithaca Crisis, which is the Suicide Crisis and Prevention organization. Tompkins County Mental Health has a page on suicide prevention that's here. And then we have some suicide survivor resources on our webpage. In crisis, it's 988 or the ithacacrisis.org website, and they do have a phone number as well. So these are major resources, some of them immediate and some of them longer term for people who are in distress or their family members and friends who are trying to help. Another question that was in the registration were mental health services for older adults. And my family member is I guess would be called an older adult based on her age, and she gets services through Tompkins County Mental Health, and she has had housing through Lakeview Health Services. So those services are all available to older people. Lakeview Health Services also has the single room occupancy building. Right now it's on, it's downtown across from the motor vehicles, that little mall with motor vehicles in it. And they have a new building coming. It's 24-hour staffing, and it's basically permanent housing, sort of studio apartments, and it does tend to be older clients. You do have to be referred through the SPO process, single point of entry process, that is coordinated by Tompkins County Mental Health. So you have to go through that. There's visiting nurses, gadabout, which is either disabled or older people by definition. The Mental Health Association of Tompkins County has peer specialists and drop-in that's open to anyone. And we have a representative from Mental Health Association on the call. Longview, which is a residential program for adults, for older adults, has reopened their adult daycare. And that's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. I checked on that. You do have to register. You do have to, it's not drop-in. And I think it's $75 a day. And then Lifelong is another organization that works with older adults, all kinds of activities and educational events and so on. And then there's the Office of Aging also that can point people to other resources as they need. That's a Tompkins County agency that I didn't put on this list. This was yet another question, mental health crisis protocol at the Cayuga Medical Association, CMA hospital. So somebody goes into the emergency department. First, a physician has to medically clear the person for evaluation. And then an evaluator who's a licensed professional, like a social worker or a counselor or RN, meets with the individual who's been admitted to the ED and does a mental health evaluation, looks at safety risks and history and so on. Then they present that case to the on-call psychiatrist. And if it's during a weekday, it's the regular psychiatrist, I think, associated with the behavioral unit. Otherwise, it's an on-call psychiatrist from the area. And then the psychiatrist will decide on admission and the legal status, which is, is it a voluntary or an involuntary admission versus discharge. So that's the process. Sounds quick. I don't think it's quick, but that's just the basic process that I was given when we called around and tried to boil it down for you. And that's basically my presentation. Here's the contacts that I gave you earlier, all again, if you need to contact us. I'll leave that up for a few seconds. And
Okay. All right, Deb, thank you so much for all of that information. Very, very useful information. So we are going to open it up with your questions. You can write your questions in the chat and I will monitor those. There are a couple questions that came in ahead of time through registrations. I'm going to read through, and if Deb cannot answer them, we will refer you to a place where you can find the answers. So first question is, and Deb, these are for you. News articles have reported that some are expressing concerns that 988 can result in police involvement, location tracking, and involuntary commitments without consent. Is there a change from 911 with the new 988 number that has precipitated these concerns?
again, as I said during the presentation, I don't know of any reports like that about 988.
Okay, so in the chat, if you scroll up, I did include the link for 988 for more information. And I'm not exactly sure if there's a contact number on there, but if you do not find that information, I'll put my email in the chat later on, and then we can figure out how to get your answers. Next question. In some of those articles, excuse me, links to a trans lifeline and to a Black mental health line have been provided as possible alternatives to 988, in part due to the above referenced concerns. Can you provide information? So again, that is a specific 988 question. Same protocol. Click on the link, see if you can find that information, and if not, get back to me and I'll get you those answers.
I think you can just call 988 and ask some of those questions. I mean, you're looking for resources. That's a legitimate reason to call a number like that. You don't actually have to be in crisis to try to find out some information.
Okay. Let's see. There was one question that came in from Nora. Thank you for your question. Can someone speak to the 72-hour rule when ER admission? So what in the ER process, what's the 72-hour rule? Can you speak on that, Deb? Or do you know?
I can't, maybe, I don't know if Jean or Carol can.
Can anyone on the call speak about the 72-hour rule?
I'm not particularly clear on it I'm not feeling like I can responsibly address it, but it has to do with how long a person can be kept involuntarily without being reviewed in the hospital. And it's fairly across the board, I think, in most states. Again, that's the kind of thing that maybe checking with the hospital would be best, because I don't want to speak for the hospital, and I don't think any of us do.
Elisa,
Yeah,
Elisa.
Gloria. Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm Elisa Tobia. I am a NAMI member, and the story that Deb mentioned earlier is tied into my son, and I appreciate her statement of that. All of these 72-hour holds and different aspects that you will run into when you're seeking to advocate for a loved one are really clearly defined at the Office of Mental Health's website. Everything is legislated, everything is a law, everything is there to protect, supposedly, the individual or patient, protect their rights as well as their health and well-being. So I happen to live over in Corning, which borders on Chemung and Pennsylvania. And when you cross the state line, there is no 72-hour hold. We learned that the hard way. So it's there to provide a purpose and an assessment, and really visit the OMH website. It's pretty easy to navigate. You'll see things like Nicole's Law in there and the descriptions for what your loved one's discharge plan ought to look like, and all of those really important factors.
OMH is the New York State Office of Mental Health.
Thank you. It looks like Michaela has her hand up. Michaela, do you have something to add?
Well, I think, okay, so my history is that I ran the crisis line at suicide prevention for 17 years. And right now they're in the process of transitioning to 988. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline became Vibrant Health. So a lot of things changed in terms of protocol. 988 is also supposed to address people in behavioral mental health crisis, as well as substance use crisis, which is another, and it's a different discipline. So I mean, they're being asked to take on a lot more. And some crisis centers will be working with crisis centers. Like, for instance, in Buffalo, the crisis line there will be working with mental health units with hospitals. And then there are some standalone crisis centers, like the ones here in Ithaca, that they don't have that kind of collaborative working situation. They do work with a mobile crisis team, which in itself is very taxed. You know, there's usually one mental health worker along with a peer specialist on duty at any given time. And of course,
is this at Cayuga Medical Center, the crisis team?
No, this is the mental health mobile crisis team through the mental health services, Tompkins County Mental Health Services.
Got it.
And so during the day, they're EOS, Emergency Outreach Services, which also means that those workers are working with clients. And then after hours, after 4:30, during the night and on the weekends, it's a two-person team, and they have to work in tandem with a police officer if they're going to go out in the field to make sure that it's a safe situation for them to enter. Before COVID, they would go out more in the field. Then they started doing phone triage. And so those social workers who work on that team, 25 of them are capable of doing a psychiatric hold on someone. And they were specially trained to do that by Sharon McDougall, if anybody remembers Sharon McDougall. But so I think there's a lot of beta testing that's going to happen with 988, depending on the individual crisis center that receives the call. Because of the 988 rollout, anybody in our geographic area, if they dial 988, will get the local line. Back in the day, you used to be routed according to the area code. Not anymore. So if I had an area code from California, I'd be routed to the local California line. But now I would be routed here, no matter what my area code, because it makes sense that you would be routed to somebody in your locality. So I think what we're going to see with 988 is a lot of beta testing, because a lot of people have different protocols. For some people, for instance, some CPEPs I work with, if you said, I'm having thoughts of suicide, they don't do what is called the assist model. They don't listen to your reasons for wanting to take your life. They automatically will send you to the hospital. And as we all know, the hospital does not do treatment, they do containment. They keep you from killing yourself or killing someone else. But, you know, so treatment has to come later in a discharge plan, and people do fall through the cracks.
Right.
Also, what's happening is that because of the 988 rollout and the word out there on the street about if you say something about suicide, you'll be taken to the hospital, warm lines are being called into use. Here at Mental Health Association, we have our own warm line that's run by peer specialists, but it's not a 24/7 line. Warm lines also have to figure out what their protocols are going to be and if they're going to be doing suicide screening. So I think everything is really up in the air. I think this whole idea of trying to make the lines more accessible through a 3-digit number is a first step, but I think we're not going to know what's going to happen until individual crisis centers across the country start answering the phones. For instance, in Ithaca, if you dial after hours, SPCS won't pick up. It'll be Syracuse contact in East Syracuse. So you'll be talking to somebody in Syracuse, which is better than talking to somebody in Nebraska, but it's still somebody not in your community. So, you know, I think that it's kind of like shifting sands. Nobody's going to answer this or that. The intentions are this, but I will tell you this, when we would get calls from people in substance use crisis, we did not feel qualified to handle those. You know, so especially if you're counseling somebody who is inebriated, it's different. The peer relationship changes. All right. And so there's a different protocol for that. So I just wanted to give that bit of information because, you know, I did it for 17 years.
Yeah.
So I kind of know it, but I don't know what 988 is going to look like.
So it looks
Okay.
like some things are just up in the air. Michaela,
Yes.
thank you so much for your expert insight. That was not expected, but wow, thank you. That was really great information.
Thank you,
So
Gloria.
we're gonna keep going until 12:45, but anyone that has to hop off because of time, please, you can feel free to hop off. It's now 12:34. But we will continue with our Q&A session. I'm going to read from these questions, but I see Ed Swayze, my dear friend, has his hand up. Ed, what's your question? You're on mute, Ed.
Yeah, I am unmuting. Thank you. I'm curious. I know I think there are several people here that are from the Human Services Coalition, and I'm wondering, and I have a background with the 211 Information and Referral Service and its institutionalization in Tompkins County. And I'm wondering how the HSC 211 service and its maintained database of services is keeping keeping pace with the changes going on at suicide prevention with the 988.
So I can take that. I'm John Mazzello from Human Services Coalition and the program director for 211. You know, not to add too much more to what Michaela has mentioned, but we are, you know, frequently in communications with SPCS around the, the kind of the rollout of 988 specifically. So far, it hasn't really changed how we, how we refer people over. We also, as a line that people call when they are sometimes in crisis, have options that will direct calls directly over if a person's in crisis to the crisis line rather than 211, which similar to what Michaela mentioned, has a scope that really doesn't reach up to the level that the different lines are covering. So yeah, I guess the only thing to say would be it continues to be a work in progress, but the relationships are there. We have we have some stuff in the works around public education around 211 and other things that will help people to know when to call which number and stuff at the county as well. And other providers are all kind of working on that. But at this point, it is kind of a work in progress still. So thanks for the question.
Yeah, and excuse me, but it's 211 is still covering both Tompkins and Cortland counties. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for your question, Ed, and thanks, John, for chiming in. That's why I love these gatherings, because we all learn from each other. The next question comes from Yael. Do you have any programs that address postpartum depression and other maternal mental health issues? Question for Deb.
We don't directly that I know, not in NAMI Finger Lakes. And I don't know of any through NAMI National either, but we would certainly welcome people who needed to talk about those issues also.
Thanks.
Thank
Deb.
you. Can I ask the room if there is any other program in any of the mental health organizations that addresses postpartum depression and maternal health illnesses directly?
Doesn't.
I would suggest the Childhood Development Center or the Child Development Center.
The Child Development Council?
Yes, exactly.
To
Yeah.
my knowledge, they do not.
Okay.
Okay.
It seems that there must be, but it's been a long time since I was at Information and Referral 211, and so I don't have that stuff in my head anymore.
Okay. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Yael, for your question.
Yeah, Gloria, I wanted to offer one clarification from, I guess, a lived experience person, and you combine medical conditions with mental health conditions and having a loved one, maybe a spouse of a person with postpartum depression, is to not define by the source of the depression, but the issue of depression. For myself personally, my lived experience involves thyroid condition and hormone replacement therapy in order to be a balanced person with depression and anxiety. So NAMI fits me because it's the mental health subject. So when we look at this postpartum depression person, what are we addressing? We're addressing the factor of depression, not that it's the biological origin of it, but what are we going to do to support and provide support in the area of mental health? The physiological part, I would think, falls under the gynecologist or treating physician, in my experience. Again, that's just my lived experience.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Elisa. It looks like Josephine shared some information about the Mental Health Association in Tompkins County Peer Support Services. There's a warm line that was provided on the chat. Lots of thank yous. Excellent presentation. Okay, there's another question from Josiah. Thank you, Josiah. Oh, I don't know if this is a question or not. Family and Children's Service of Ithaca works with new parents and infants through the 0 to 5 program. It's not specifically focused on postpartum. Okay, yeah, this is the answer to your question. But we certainly work with clients who are dealing with that and have therapists trained in working with new mothers and infants. Thank you, Josiah, for that. Do we have any additional last minute burning questions that you want to get off of your chest? Anyone else? You can just raise your hand.
So I'd like the mic again just for a minute to invite everyone to next month's
Yes.
meeting, where we're going to talk about Mama's Comfort Camp and how we serve mothers with various maternal challenges, including postpartum depression, but also, for example, postparting depression. A lot of mothers whose children leave the house for various reasons are experiencing emotional challenges over that and everything in between. For those of you who haven't heard of Mama's Comfort Camp, we're an online support network. We use moderated safe spaces for brave conversations that use Facebook forums. And we have about 3,000 local moms. Another thing that we do is that we support other human services organizations in getting information about your programs to the community. So we will talk about how that works. It's October 11th, I believe.
Yep.
Gloria, am I correct?
Yes, correct.
Again, the second Tuesday of the month at noon, and I would love to see you and answer your questions then.
That's a fantastic plug. Thanks, Yael, for that.
And thank you for hosting us.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Again, thank you, Deb, for being with us this afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful questions. Thank you for spending your lunchtime with me. Again, as Yael said, October 11th is the next Let's Talk program. If you haven't registered yet, please register on our website. You'll find the information. If you scroll up in the chat, there is, I posted information on where to find this presentation, because it has been recorded, as well as the PowerPoint, as well as archived Let's Talks. If you have any suggestions for future Let's Talks or other agencies that you want to hear from, or you yourself are an agency that wants to provide updates to the community and talk more about what you do, please reach out to me. My email is on the chat. I just put it up there. And if there is nothing else, I wish you all a wonderful day. Enjoy the remainder of your week and continue to be fantastic and amazing. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Jean and Elisa, too. Bye.
See you all soon. Thank you.